Let me ask you something. Have you ever looked back at a relationship, a situationship, or even just a text thread and thought, what the hell was I doing? You were smart. You had things going for you, and somehow, somewhere, you gave all your power away without even realizing it, and she didn't even have to ask for it. You just handed it over. Piece by piece, with every over-explained message. Every emotional reaction, every time you made her the center of your damn universe. It's brutal to admit, but necessary because once you see it, you can't unsee it. Not in your actions, not in her reactions, and definitely not in the way you feel about yourself after it's all said and done. That's why today's video matters more than you think. We're not here to talk about tricks, hacks, or manipulation. This is about awareness. The kind of awareness that separates the man she forgets from the one she can't stop thinking about. I'm going to walk you through 9 things smart men never do with women, and I'm telling you now, you've probably done at least 3 of them, maybe more, but after today, you won't. Because once you understand what each one is costing you, you'll stop bleeding value in silence. You stop playing by rules that never worked in the first place. This is where you take your power back quietly, calmly, like a man who knows who the hell he is. So, turn off the noise, silence your notifications, lock in with me. And if you're tired of chasing, tired of overthinking, tired of wondering where you stand with her, this video is for you. Let's get into it. Number 1. Never explain yourself too much. Let's be honest, most men don't even realize they're doing it. You're not trying to look weak. You're just trying to be understood. You think if you just explain things clearly, why you didn't text back, why you were late, why you needed time alone, she appreciates the transparency, but it doesn't work that way. Explaining too much doesn't miss. Number 1. Seeking constant validation, connection. It builds doubt. Take David, 52. Divorced 5 years ago, recently started seeing a woman named Rachel, 48, after their second date. She texted him late at night asking why he hadn't responded to her earlier message. David panicked. He wrote a paragraph-long reply, explaining how work had piled up, how his phone had died, how he meant to reply but got sidetracked, how he didn't want her to think he was ignoring her. She never responded. Why? Because all she saw was a man trying to justify his existence. And that energy doesn't pull a woman closer, it pushes her away. Now, I'm not saying be cold. I'm not saying ignore her. I'm saying don't act like you need to explain yourself every time you make a move. Smart men communicate, but they don't over-explain. They don't scramble to fix how they're perceived. Because here's the truth. When you explain too much, you're not giving her information. You're giving her insecurity. You're saying, I hope this makes you approve of me. And that plea for validation. It's a silent admission that you're unsure of your value. A man who knows his worth doesn't perform explanations like monologues. He's clear. He's grounded. He says what needs to be said and then he lets it breathe. Let me paint it another way. Imagine you're watching a movie. The lead character walks into a room, calm, collected, doesn't say much, but everyone watches him. Why? Because he's not trying to fill the silence. His presence speaks. That's the energy we're talking about. Back to David. The next time a woman asked why he didn't reply immediately, he tried something different. He simply said, I respond when I'm focused. I don't like splitting my attention. That's it. No excuse, no apology, just clarity. You know what she replied? I like that because women don't need you to explain. They need to feel your center. You're not a boy trying to avoid punishment. You're a man living by his values. That means your time, your space, your pace. That's yours. You don't owe a play-by-play unless it's truly necessary. And most of the time, it's not. Let me give you another example. Marcus, 58, retired military, now runs his own woodworking business. He was dating a woman named Linda, 51. Ho constantly asked where he was. Why he didn't answer fast enough. Why he didn't check in like her last boyfriend. Instead of explaining himself, every time Marcus told her clearly, I respect relationships where both paying people trust each other. If we don't have that, this won't work. Powerful, clear, and notice. No over-explaining, just truth. That kind of communication doesn't beg, it doesn't chase, it simply holds the line. There's a Stoic principle at play here. Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be. Be one. You don't convince someone through justification. You show them through action, through consistency, through self-respect. So the next time you feel that itch to explain too much, stop. Ask yourself, am I being clear or am itching to be liked? Because the second one is where most men fall apart. And here's the kicker. If she respects you, she won't need constant explanations. If she doesn't, no amount of explaining will make her. So why waste your breath? Mystery creates attraction. Clarity mistake number 2. Ignoring your own boundaries creates trust. Over-explaining destroys both. Say it once, say it calmly, then move forward like a man who trusts his steps. If that hit home, type, "I've donate this, stick around." What's coming next might be the hardest one to hear, but it's the one that sets you free. Number 2, don't chase. Here's the truth. No one wants to say out loud, chasing doesn't make her like you more. It makes her forget why she was ever interested in the first place. And I get it. When you meet a woman who lights you up, who makes you feel seen, desired, alive, it's natural to want to keep that feeling going. So, you text first, you plan the dates, you send the follow-ups, you check in when she pulls away, and without realizing it, you've gone from a man with purpose to a man orbiting someone else's attention. Let's look at PL. He's 49, recently back in the dating world after a long marriage. He met Allison, 46, through a mutual friend. The chemistry was strong at first, flirty texts, long calls, 2 solid dates, but after a week, her replies got slower, her tone changed, wasn't as available. Paul panicked, hesitated sending longer messages. "Hey, just checking in. Is everything okay? Did I say something wrong?" Each message felt like he was trying to pull her back into something she was already stepping out of. And that's what chasing looks like. Not confidence, not leadership, desperation disguised as effort. We need to understand something. Women test men, not maliciously, biologically. It's wired in when she pulls back, when she makes you wait, when she gets vague. That's not always rejection. Sometimes it's curiosity. She's watching to see how you're spun. Will you crumble? Will you start begging or will you stay centered? Smart men don't chase. They pursue with direction, with presence, with clarity. But they never beg. There's a massive difference between expressing interest and giving away your dignity. Pursuit says, "I see value and I'll move toward it." Chasing says, "I need your validation more than I value myself." You feel the difference. One is grounded, the other is needy. Another example, Richard, 56, owns a design firm, financially stable, emotionally mature, but his weakness was texting. Every time a woman didn't reply within a few hours, he spiraled. He'd send a second message, sometimes a third. Once he even sent a meme just to restart the woman, Sandra 50, had been interested at first, but later told a friend, "He's a little too available." That one stings, doesn't it? It's real. When you chase, you teach her how to see you. You teach her that you're always available, that she doesn't have to earn your attention, that you're okay being an option as long as they get some attention back. And the worst part, chasing never ends in real connection. It ends in frustration and confusion and resentment on both sides. What should you do instead? You lead, you pursue. If energy is mutual, you put effort where it's returned. You respond, not react. And when she goes cold or distant, you don't lean in harder. You pull back calmly, confidently, not as a tactic, but because you know your worth isn't up for negotiation. When you stop chasing something powerful and happens, she starts noticing your absence. She starts wondering what you're doing. She remembers how you made her feel. And now she's the one leaning in. But even if she doesn't come back, that's still your win because you didn't lose yourself trying to win someone who wasn't meant to stay. Let's go stoic for a second. Mistake number 3. Overinvesting too soon. Marcus Aurelius wrote. The tranquility that comes when you stop caring what they say or think or do, only what you. That's the mindset. You stay in your lane, you move forward. You don't chase chaos, you walk with calm. And here's something else. The more you chase, the more unattractive you become. Not just to her, but to yourself. Start losing that edge, that quiet dominance, that grounded energy women are naturally drawn to. So, next time she pulls back, let her. Next time she delays the text, delay your need to respond. Next time she tests your presence, pass the test by staying in yours. You're not chasing, you're choosing, and you're only choosing what chooses you. Pig, if that makes sense. Pipe, I felt that and stay with them. What's coming next is something you've definitely done but probably didn't know was a problem. Number 3, don't reveal your whole life too soon. There's a common mistake that smart men still make thinking emotional openness equals instant connection. It doesn't. at least not in the way you've been led to believe. Sharing your story. By 2. Fast doesn't create intimacy, it creates imbalance. Here's what usually happens. You meet someone. There's a spark. You'll feel seen maybe for the first time in a long time. So, you open up, you tell her about your divorce, your kids' Thebes, you built and lost, the regrets, the therapy, the trauma. You pour it all out thinking, this vulnerability will build trust. And sometimes it just builds silence. Let me give you an example. Steve, 54, met Brenda, 50, through a local book club. They connected fast on their third date. Steve felt comfortable, maybe too comfortable. Over dinner, he told her about his messy custody battle, how his ex had drained him emotionally and financially, how he hadn't dated seriously in 6 years, and how hard it had been to rebuild. Brenda listened not politely, but after that night, something shifted. Text got shorter. Her tone cooled. When Steve asked if she wanted to meet again, she said, "And a great guy. I just don't think I'm ready for this." What really happened? He gave her a full download of who he is before she had a chance to actually want to know. That's the key. Mystery isn't about playing games. It's about pacing. Attraction is a slow reveal, not a full broadcast. When you tell your whole story up front, it puts the emotional weight on her. She didn't sign up to be your therapist, your confessional, or your emotional landing pad. She signed up to discover you gradually. Stoicism teaches something powerful here. Don't show your whole soul to everyone. Let your actions reveal your character. You can still be authentic without dumping your life history on the table. Another story. Darren, 47, owns a successful unseen business. He met Alina, 45, at a networking event. They hit it off, but Darren had been burned before badly. So when Elena started asking deeper questions about his past, he unloaded chilled issues, business betrayal, former addiction. He felt relieved afterward, like he'd been real. Alina, she was overwhelmed. Not because Darren was a bad man, but because it was all too much too soon. She later told him, "I needed to feel like I could get to know you, not be responsible for fixing you." This is the trap. You think you're building trust by opening up fast, but in reality, you're removing all the tension. All the anticipation, the parts that make her lean in. Look, this isn't about hiding. It's about rhythm, about letting each layer come out at the right time. You don't read a great novel by just skipping to the last chapter. You enjoy it because of the mistake. Number 4, being overly available. Pacing, the mystery, the unfolding. A woman wants to feel like she's earning your story, not being dumped with it. She wants to uncover you slowly through your confidence, your consistency, your presence, not through trauma overdone. If she asks about your past, give her pieces, not the whole puzzle. You can say, "Yeah, I've been through some heavy things, but I've done the work. I don't live there anymore." That's enough. It's honest, it's masculine. It says, "I've seen darkness, but I walk in light." And here's something women notice deeply. How you carry your past. If you carry it with peace and perspective, it builds respect. If you carry it like a badge or a burden, it builds discomfort. So, next time you feel tempted to spill your entire history, ask yourself, why am I sharing this? Is it for connection? Or am I asking her to carry something I haven't finished holding? Emotional depth is attractive when it's stable, when it's earned, when it shows strength, not need. Protect your story. Reveal it wisely. Not every chapter needs to be read on the first date. If this reminded you of a moment in your past, type "I've on this" and get ready. The next part hits a common trap, one that looks kind but actually kills attraction fast. Number 4. Never try to fix. Third, let's talk about one of the most well-intentioned mistakes men make: trying to fix her. It doesn't come from a bad place. You care. You want to help. You see her struggling, confused, overwhelmed, or emotionally unstable, and you step in. You offer advice. You give her solutions. You try to fix what's hurting her. But here's the truth. Most men learn too late. You cannot fix a woman into loving you. Fixing her is not your job. In fact, the moment you step into that role, you step out of your power. Let me show you how it plays out. Brian, 51, met Cassandra, 48, on a dating app. She was beautiful, magnetic, and emotionally all over the place. One week she was affectionate and sweet, the next distant and cold. She told Brian stories about her ex, how he cheated, how he lied, how she had a hard time trusting. Again, Brian felt for her, so he stepped up. He reassured her, he overcommunicated, he planned thoughtful dates. sent good morning messages, wrote long texts explaining how he was different. He listened, approached, soothed, advised, and she thanked him, then slowly disappeared. Brian was left, confused. I did everything right, he said. No, he did everything helpful, but that's not what she needed. Here's the thing. When you try to fix her, you're not being her man. You're being her therapist, her coach, or worse, her emotional caretaker. And that role kills attraction. It sounds harsh, but it's real. Stoicism teaches us that we are responsible for our own emotions, not anyone else's. That includes the woman you're dating, especially the woman you're dating. If she's emotionally unstable, moody, unpredictable, or carrying trauma, that's her journey. You can hold space. You can listen. But the moment you cross into trying to save her, you're not holding boundaries. Mistake number 5. Neglecting personal growth. You're abandoning yourself. Think about this. A woman doesn't fall for a man who makes her feel fixed. She falls for a man who makes her feel safe because he's stable, calm, and doesn't get pulled into her chaos. That's real leadership. Another story. Mark, 58, met Julia, 52, through a volunteer group. Julia had a strong personality, but deep wounds from a past relationship. She'd often lash out, get jealous, and then apologize. Mark, being the solid guy he is, thought if he just showed her what healthy love looks like, she'd stop the drama. So, he kept explaining. He kept de-escalating. He kept stepping into her storms, trying to guide her out. Eventually, he realized he wasn't in a relationship. He was in emotional triage. Julia didn't need a fixer. She needed to fix herself. And once Mark stepped back and stopped trying to rescue her, she left that hurt at first. But now he sees it as the best thing that could have happened. Because men who are constantly trying to fix women forget one thing: your Alouetto choose peace over potential. You don't have to date her trauma just because you see her light. You don't have to stay in her chaos just because you understand where it comes from. It's not cold, it's clarity. There's a Stoic truth here that hits hard. No man is free who is not master of himself. And you cannot be master of yourself if you're emotionally enslaved to someone else's instability. So, what should you do? Listen when it's appropriate. Acknowledge what she shares. Offer brief support, but don't carry it. Don't take a responsibility for what isn't yours. And most importantly, observe her patterns. Don't get pulled in by potential. Watch how she moves. Does she take accountability? Does she or is she constantly seeking a man to fix her wounds? Because here's the deal. If she hasn't done her inner work, no amount of your effort will make up for it. You'll burn out trying. You'll lose your edge, and slowly she loses respect for the man who keeps rescuing her instead of respecting himself. Women don't want perfect men, but they do want men with boundaries. Men who lead with calm energy, not fixer energy. And that calm comes from choosing not to step into every fire she creates. So next time you feel the ghetto fixer, pause, breathe, ask yourself, is this love or is this labor? Because if it feels like emotional labor for you've even built a foundation, that's not your woman. And that's okay if this hits home for you. Type Evie Bean that guy. Next up, we're going to hit a mistake that most men make without realizing they're doing it. One that costs them their focus, their edge, and their mission. Number 5. Don't neglect your purpose for her. This one might sting a little because we've all done it. You meet someone, the connection hits deep. She's warm, engaging, full of energy, and for the first time in a long time, you feel something move again. So, you make time, then more time. Then suddenly you're skipping workouts, missing deadlines, rearranging your priorities, and you even notice it happening until you look up and realize you've shifted your entire orbit around her. And that's where everything starts to fall apart. Let me tell you about James. He's 50, owns a small but growing carpentry business, and spent years building it from the ground up. Long nights, early mornings. Discipline was his default mode. Then, he met Lisa, 47, through a mutual friend. It was electric. The chemistry was real. She made him feel alive again. At first, he'd see her on weekends. Then it was weekdays, then midday coffee. Check-ins turned into skipping job site meetings. He told himself it was just balance, that relationships take investment. But slowly his business started sleeping. Clients waited longer. His crew noticed mistake number 6. Sharing too much too soon, was distracted. He missed a licensing deadline. And, when Lisa started pulling back emotionally, James found himself easing her while everything he built started to crumble underneath him. He gave up his purpose to hold on to someone who wasn't even fully invested. That's the danger. See, your purpose, just what you do. It's who you are. It's your center. And when you abandon your center to orbit around a woman, you don't just lose focus, you lose attraction. Hers and yours. Women might be drawn to your attention at first, but it's your direction that keeps them. Your groundedness, your commitment to something bigger than the relationship. A man without a mission is a man with no gravity. Stoicism reminds us, waste no more time arguing what a good man should be. Be one. That being comes from purpose, from direction, from knowing what you're building, why you're building it, and refusing to let anything derail that. And here's the irony. When you hold your purpose sacred, you become more attractive, not less. Women don't want to be your purpose. They want to feel safe near a man who has one. Let me give you another example. Carlos, 46, used to train for marathons. He had a routine, 500 a.m. runs, clean meals, quiet, focus. Then he met Jenner, 45, at a friend's birthday dinner. They hit it off. But 2 months in, he started skipping runs to sleep in after staying up late texting. He stopped meal prepping, stopped training, started canceling weekend long runs to make brunch plans instead. He told himself he was just being present, but deep down he knew he was sleeping. And when Jen eventually ended things, she said something that stuck with him. "You were more focused on me than yourself, that scared me." She didn't say to hurt him. She said it because it's true. When a man lets go of his direction, it signals neediness, and neediness isn't love. It's weight, it's pressure. It's emotional dependence wrapped in attention. So what's the fix? You build your life in such a way that no woman can become your compass. She can walk side you. She can add joy to the journey, but she cannot become the road. Your mission, whether it's your busyness, your craft, your health, your leadership, your family legacy, that comes first always. Not because you're a selfish, but because you're sovereign. A woman respects a man who has somewhere to be, who's not, "I'm always available," who doesn't explain himself for choosing his path, who doesn't need her to feel whole, but values her presence when idolins with his direction. That kind of man is rare and unforgettable. So ask yourself, have you bent your schedule, delayed your goals, lost sight of your priorities, trying to hold on to her presence? If the answer is yes, it's not too late to course correct. Start showing up for your purpose like your life depends on it, because it does. Get back in the gym. Get back on your path. Get back to that version of you who doesn't wait for text to decide how today is going to feel. You're not here to chase. You're here to build. And the woman who's worth your time should respect a man who never abandons his mission, even for love. If that hit deep, type, "I've done that." And keep watching. The next mistake. It's one most men don't even realize they're making until it's already cost them the power they didn't know. Head number 6. Don't compete for her attention. Here's a hard truth. Most men never want to admit. The moment you start competing for a woman's attention, you've already lost her respect. You might think you're just being present, just showing her you care. But if you're adjusting your behavior because she's acting distant, cold, or distracted by other options, you're not showing strength. You're stepping into a role. No grounded man. Mistake number 7. Becoming complacental. Ever play the performer? Let me explain with a real story. Tony, 48, runs a small financial consulting firm. Sharp guy, level-headed, divorced for 2 years, and finally dipping back into the dating world. He met Nicole, 46, at a conference. They hit it off. Great energy, a couple of solid dates. But soon, Nicole started posting Vega pictures on Instagram, drinks at rooftop bars, tagged locations with male friends. Cryptic captions, like "good vibes only." Tony saw it, and instead of brushing it off or staying grounded, he panicked. He started texting more, commenting on her posts, trying to match her energy, making bigger plans, trying harder. In other words, competing. And Nicole felt it. She didn't say directly, but her tone shifted. The attraction dropped. She started pulling away. Because here's the thing. When you try to win her attention, you put her in the position of power. You shift from being a grounded man to being one of the many trying to impress her. That's never where you want to be. Real attraction is earned through performance. It's earned through presence. Stoicism teaches us this. He who is not a slavato appearances is a master of himself. You don't chase attention because attention doesn't define your value. Your value and the world, including women, responds to the energy you carry. So, what should Tony have done? Nothing. If a woman pulls back, gets vague, flirts with attention-seeking behavior, or tries to provoke jealousy. It's not your job to outshine the noise. It's your job to stay centered, to keep living your life, to make peace with the fact that if she's distracted, she's already showing you something valuable. Her focus isn't in building something real. Women will test, not always on purpose, but they do. And when they do, they're not looking for flesh. They're looking for strength, for steadiness. For a man who doesn't flinch when the spotlight moves away from him for a second. Another example, Leonard, 55, recently divorced, met a younger woman named Tamara, 46. She was charming, high energy, and constantly in the mix. Text events, always on her phone. Leonard was intrigued, but when she started acting hot and cold, he didn't chase. He didn't ask what's wrong or double text. He focused on his work, stayed consistent in his tone, and when she drifted, he let her. You know what happened? 2 weeks later, she reached out. She said, "You're different. You don't react like other guys." Exactly, because men who don't compete for attention, who don't measure themselves against other options, are rare and respected. If she wants to test your energy, let her, but don't play the game. Don't try to out-interest other guys. That's not the masculine frame. That's not power. That's panic. Your presence is the prize. Your calm is the power. Your consistency is the gravity. So if you're feeling that itch to prove yourself, to respond to her mixed signals by showing up more pores, breathe. Ask yourself, am I acting from strength or from fear? Because pure waits. If this made you think twice, type, I felt this in Gertrude. The next one exposes something even deeper, something that might be killing your confidence without you realizing it. Number 7. Never make her the source of your happiness. This one gets a lull. You meet a woman, she brings laughter, energy, excitement. Suddenly, you're smiling more, sleeping better, showing up to life with a spark again. You feel alive and you think, man, maybe she's the reason I'm finally happy. And that's where it all starts to fall apart, because the moment your emotional balance depends on someone else's presence, behavior, or attention, you've given away the keys to your kingdom. Let's talk about Ethan, 53, divorced, no kids, runs a real estate office in Arizona. He met Lauren, 49, during a networking mixer. She was elegant, confident, sharp. They hit it off, and within a month, Ethan was hooked. But here's the thing, routine started changing. He stopped doing morning walks, stopped meeting friends. Mistake number 8, not understanding female psychology in weekends. His focus at work slipped and all of it revolved around whether Lauren was texting, smiling, calling, or planning the next date. His day started feeling like emotional roller coasters. When she was warm, he felt amazing. When she was distant, he felt anxious. When she canceled plans, he spiraled. It wasn't love, it was dependency. And that's the trap. When you make a woman your emotional anchor, she starts to feel your weight. And that weight doesn't feel romantic, it feels heavy. No one wants to carry the responsibility of someone else's happiness, especially not a woman looking for strength, leadership, and calm. A Stoic man knows happiness is not something to be pursued. It is to be practiced. You don't hand it over to her like a gift and say, please keep this safe. You build it internally with discipline, with direction, with purpose. Let me give you another real example. Dean, 46, was dating Clara, 45. At first it was great, but after a few months, she told him, "You act like I'm the only good thing happening in your life, and that scares me." He didn't get it at first, but later he realized he'd made her his world. Every joy, every high came from her, not from within. And when she left, it wasn't just on her break. It was emotional collapse because you'd forgotten how to create happiness without her. You need to flip that. Your happiness isn't her job, it's your responsibility. And when you carry it to yourself, you give her space to relax into your energy instead of manage your mood. You become the calm in the chaos, the steady in the storm. So ask yourself, are you building a life that fills you, with or without her? Because that's what makes a woman want to be part of it, not because you need her to be happy, but because your happiness already exists and you're simply inviting her into it. If that hits somewhere deep, type, I felt this before, and stay with me. The next one is the silent killer of attraction. One almost every man does without even realizing. Number 8, don't react emotionally to her tests. If you've spent any time dating, or even married, you know what I'm about to say is real. Women test men not out of cruelty. Not because they're playing games, but because deep down they need to. You know, can you handle me at my most unpredictable? It's not about logic, it's about energy. And if you react emotionally, If you lash out, plead, argue, or collapse every time she picks your frame, you're proving to her that she's the one leading, not you. Let's break this down with a real story. Ellen, 52, is a successful architect.com, confident, sharp. He started dating Monique, 48, after meeting her through mutual friends. At first, everything was smooth, good chemistry, rhythm. But then came the first test. One night, they were out with friends. Mononic mode, a light comment about her ex being more adventurous. It wasn't serious, wasn't mean, but it was a jab and froze. His ego took the wheel. He shut down, grew cold, and later that night confronted her in a long emotional rant. Monique didn't say much, but the next few days her energy shifted because he failed the test. She didn't need him to react. She needed him to remain grounded, to show her that a comment, even a cutting one, couldn't shake his center. Stoicism says, if you are pained by any external thing, it is not this thing that disturbs you, but your own judgment about it. In other words, the problem isn't the test. It's how you choose to see it. When a woman tests you, gets moody, throws out a sarcastic comment, pulls back emotionally, it's not always about you. Sometimes, it's her way of asking, is this man steady? Is he someone I can lean into, or someone I have to tiptoe around? Here's another example. Marcus, 47, owns a gym, strong personality. He dated Rachel, 45, who had a habit of going cold when things got serious. Most men would panic, start texting more, begging for reassurance. Not Marcus. He let the silence be. He didn't chase. He didn't confront her. He simply stayed focused, stayed present, and gave her space. 2 days later, she messaged him. You're hard to shake. Like that. That's it right there. A man who doesn't react emotionally to tests becomes rare, unshakable, respected. Does this mean you let her walk all over you? Not at all. Boundaries are essential, but you enforce them from a mistake number 9. Losing your masculine frame place of calm, not chaos. You lead not by dominating, but by staying centered when things get shaky. So, next time she tests you, remember that sarcastic comment, that cold spell, that emotional pullback. It's not your cue to panic, it's your chance to lead. If you've been through this, drop a comment. I've seen this before. And stay locked in. The final point, it's the one that separates average men from men who own their standards and never back down. Number 9. Never apologize for your standards. Let's get one thing straight. Your standards are not up for negotiation, not if you're serious about who you are, not if you've done the work, not if you've earned the right to want more than just someone. But a lot of men fall into a trap. A woman comes along, she's attractive, engaging, and for a moment you feel lucky. So you bend just a little. You say yes when you meant no. You let things slide that you wouldn't tolerate in anyone else. You justify her behavior. You start telling yourself, well, nobody's perfect. And before you know it, you've lowered the bar for someone who hasn't even earned your time yet. Let me tell you about Geralt, 58, retired Navy officer, strong frame, disciplined. After years of solitude and rebuilding, after a divorce, he met Sabrina, 49, fun, beautiful, spontaneous. But early on, she made comments about not believing in labels, about not doing monogamy, about how Minari too rigid. And Gerald felt the pressure. He hadn't felt this kind of spark in years, so he tried to he stopped bringing up commitment. He let her flake on plants. He convinced himself that he was open-minded, but inside, he was betraying himself. 3 months in, he wasn't just confused. He was angry at her, sure, but more than that, at himself, because he knew he'd compromised values that had taken decades to build. Standards are not arrogance. They're alignment. They're the guardrails that keep you from losing yourself in thrilling situation. They're the filter that protects your peace, your time, and your energy. And when you apologize for having them, when you tone them down to make someone else more comfortable, you're sending the message, I don't fully believe in what I want. A woman might not say it, but she feels it. And when she senses that you're bending for fear of losing her, the dynamic shifts. You stop being the man who leads you. Become the man who adapts to stay cozen. That's not power. That's performance. Let's flip the story. Marcus, 45, a business coach from Denver, was seeing a woman who constantly showed up late, downplayed his ambition, and said things like, you're too intense. Instead of shrinking, he told her calmly, I live final advice, and closing thoughts be a certain code. If that's too much, I respect that, but I won't change it. No one's ever said that to me before. That's what standards do. They separate you. They're not about control. They're about clarity. Stoicism reminds us that key is to keep company only with people who uplift you, whose presence calls forth your best. Your standards are the gatekeepers of that principle. So whether it's emotional, maturity, reliability, shared values, or simple respect, don't flinch. Don't water yourself down just to fit someone else's comfort zone. You don't need to be liked by everyone. You need to be respected by the right one. And that starts with holding your line, even when it's tempting to let it slide. Because the man who stands firm in what he values never begs to be valued, and that's it. 9 things smart men never do with women. Not because we're trying to play anyone, but because once you see how much of your power you've been giving away, you stop, you shift, and you move different. If this video made you pause, made you reflect, or made you want more of this energy into your life, don't leave without subscribing. This channel is here to keep you sharp. Focused, not just in dating, but in how you move as